What did you do first? What did you do second? What did you do third? And what did you do last? Data collection before data analysis. That's the key to the structure of an effective method section, putting it in a timeline, as I've just discussed. And you have to get all of the details in here relevant and necessary for somebody else to duplicate your work. It's very important to give enough information in the methods section so that somebody else can repeat the study, because it is extremely common for editors to reject academic papers because authors they feel have used the wrong method to answer their question. So give enough detail so a qualified reader can repeat the study. If your methods are thin on details, editors also worry that you're hiding something. So you have to bulletproof this section of your academic article. You have to waterproof it. You have to show it to people, show it to colleagues, talk to us, we can help. Have I put enough information into the methods so that somebody else can repeat the study? Is there enough information there for my methods to be clear? Because never forget that it's the methods section where the problems come for reviewers. Reviewers, they think, where are the problems with this study? How can I find issues with this particular piece of work? They go in to the method section and they start to try to look for issues. So make a structure based around the timeline of your work and be detailed. Give the reader enough information that they can understand what you did clearly and they can repeat the study if necessary. That's why, by the way, data collection followed by statistical analysis, data analysis is the basic structure for a well-written, well-structured method section. It follows that timeline sequence of events as I've just discussed, which brings us into the results. Again, you should be happy because now you've got the basic structure for an introduction and the basic structure for a method section. This part, the results, actually, it's the bit that most people do first in academic paper writing. You finish your experiment, you collect your data, you produce figures, you produce tables. That's the bit that you do first. And talk about the information in this section of the article in the same structured sequence as you created already for the methods section. Often people use the same subheadings even in the results section as they've previously used in the methods. But here, just the results, just the facts and nothing but the facts. No interpretation. That comes later in the discussion, in the interpretation. Tell the reader the outcomes, the results, and of course, as well, a picture is worth 1,000 words. If you can summarize the results of your study using a picture or a table rather than words, that's much better. That's more effective. That's more efficient as a way of getting across the outcomes of your study, ordering around the primary and secondary outcomes in the same order as in the methods section. This is the key to structure in this section of academic paper writing, using pictures, using tables, and don't duplicate information between your text and your tables and figures. We will come back in later presentations in this series and talk about data analysis. We'll talk about data presentation. But when you have figures in academic articles, it's key that these figures have to be stand-alone. Or people reading your article have to be able to download the individual figures, because they often do, from PDFs or from online sites, and all they get is the figure and the caption. So there has to be the right level of information there for people to understand what the data shows, the facts and nothing but the facts in the results section. And you have the same sections. You talk about the same sequence of events in the results as you introduced to the reader in the methods section. Very important trick, very important tip for getting the structure right in this part of academic article writing. Finally, then, we move into the discussion. And don't worry, many journals, of course, they ask for a results and discussion section together in a single section of the article. That doesn't matter. You can still write the different sections following the structure that I'm giving you. You just block the results and discussion together into a single section. But here at the end of the paper, you're finally going to interpret. Discussion and interpretation are synonyms in English. You're free to explain what the results mean or why they may differ from what other workers have found. And don't forget to start your discussion section by telling the reader the answer to the question that your paper addresses. What's the question? They've been reading all the way through the article down into the discussion section in order that they can find out the answer. So now you tell them the answer at the beginning of the discussion. Interpret your results in light of other published work, adding additional information and relating your discussion back to the objectives and questions that you raised in the introduction. Limit your conclusions to what your data actually support, and don't forget in the discussion to talk about new directions for future research, new methods, perhaps new explanations that you've come up with in your study. It's important to do this so that other people reading your work, other authors reading your work, don't come up with these ideas by themselves. You want people to cite you. So show people that you've thought about other directions, what you're going to do next, other avenues for future research, because this forces people reading the paper to cite you, which is what you want. Don't forget the length. Keep the length down. Don't write an expansive essay that extrapolates wildly from what you found, and start with a single sentence, as discussed, that tells the reader the main findings, the main outcomes of your study. And again, discuss your strengths as well as your weaknesses. Peer reviewers are going to be looking for problems with your article. They're going to come at it looking for issues. What are the problems? So you need to talk about both the strengths and the weaknesses of your particular study so that peer reviewers don't have that option. Bulletproof your articles. Make sure they have the best chance possible of successfully getting through peer review. So in your discussion, in your interpretation, we are going to relate, discuss, and pose, bring up any unanswered questions. Relate your study to what's already been found. How do your results fit with what's already known? What are the strengths and weaknesses of your study compared to previous ones? And why does your paper perhaps offer a different conclusion? Discuss what your study means and pose those unanswered questions. And please, 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 please do not write at the end of your paper something like, more research will be needed if we are going to answer this question, or further research will be required to fully understand the answer to this question. You would be amazed how many authors finish their papers with something lame, something weak like that. Of course, it's obvious. More research will always be needed if we're going to fully address this particular question. You don't need to say it. Often editors will cut it out of academic articles, and you can finish your academic paper with your strongest conclusion. Build to a strong finale, like running a race. You know, you can rank the conclusions of your study in order of significance. Maybe you have 5 or 6 outcomes from your research project, and make sure that you finish your article with the strongest, most significant conclusion at the end. Like running a race, as I've mentioned, readers want to finish with a strong, positive statement that leaves them feeling good about the study. They will think, I agree, I like it, I have a positive feeling about this particular article. So that's how you can finish in terms of structuring the end of the article.